I feel like we're going round in circles with Martin Scorsese, that is. He says
Marty
the
McFly.
movie industry is over. Don't be, you be a smarty, Marty. This is coming in from Hollywood Reporter John. Martin Scorsese talks impact of Hollywood blockbusters on cinema. Well, the industry is over. Well, we might as well just go home then. Killers of the Flower Moon director told GQ magazine the major studios no longer support.
How small is that, right? Holy shit. Let's zoom in again.
As they see better risk and return from easier to market tentpole franchises. We'll get into it in a little minute, John. I'll say these couple of paragraphs here.
He's a Debbie Downer, is Martin.
Yeah,
he's starting to rile me.
That face and that picture looks painted. It's a painted smile. It's that face app that puts an instant smile on your face. That's not real. Martin Scorsese isn't especially happy with what Hollywood effects-driven popcorn movies have done to the film industry. He helped pioneer with iconic box office hits like Taxi Driver and Mean Streets. Well, the industry is over, Scorsese told GQ magazine in an interview, conducted ahead of the release of his latest film, Killers of the Flower Moon. In other words, the industry that I was part of, we're talking almost, 50 years ago. It's like saying to someone in 1970 who made silent films, what do you think happened? He argued. Scorsese added that the major studios, I'm getting bored of this already, preferred it easier to market. I'm getting depressed reading this actually. Market popcorn movies that have franchise potential no longer have interest in supporting individual voices that express their personal feelings or their personal thoughts and personal ideas and feelings on a bigger budget. What happened now is that they're pigeonholed into what they call indies. You know what to do, Martin? Put your films on Netflix. Put all your films on Netflix.
I better even yet make a really, really compelling and interesting independent story that isn't a franchise with big special effects that you can't eat popcorn when you're watching, and get one of these studios. Sorry, I've just clicked the wrong thing. Incidentally, that's the way we really look, and you can see the actual sign behind me I was talking about. No sexist, no racist, no fascist. But anyway, back to this, and see if it can get success. Because if you make a really good, compelling story, an interesting movie that's exquisitely written about these weighty elements you're talking about, it's not got a Cape Crusader or a fucking flying shield, or it's not, I don't know, trying to think of an example here, a bow and arrow. That was what was that called again? One with Jennifer Lawrence, Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, yeah.
If it's not that, and it's something that's really, I don't know, human condition drama, something that you'd make, Martin, surely these studios will have no problem putting it out there.
Yeah.
Because, that's what people want ultimately. They want to see really good films. It doesn't matter what the content is. They want to see really well-made films. And look, that's been borne out in current day, because not a lot of people are going to see Marvel films like they did 5 years ago. They're not going to see DC films like they did ever. I'd argue, because no one ever really did go and see DC films in big numbers. That's why they keep chopping and changing things, and Peter Safran and James Gunn are now in charge of DC because it was a shambles. People aren't going and watching these movies because they're not good anymore, Stephen. It's plain and simple. They're not like they were in 2016, 2015, 2014.
As well, John. I think
you make a bad film, no one's going to watch it.
There's too much risk involved for the studios to go down that road now, in terms of what money they put behind a film and the risk it takes. And you still, every film that goes out is a risk. I get that, and even the franchises and the comic book ones have that risk, and some of the times they fail. We've seen it, we've talked about it. In terms of where Scorsese's coming from, John, he's been part of it. We're talking about 50 years ago. The world has changed.
Times change. I was just thinking at Walk My Dog. Technologically, we're in a different universe now to what we were in the 90s.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the 90s and the 80s. I was listening to a song on my AirPods, and I'm like, fucking hell, man, it's well where we are now. I remember when I was a kid, video cassettes, cassette players, CD players.
Television.
This is what we had.
Yeah.
Phones that were like that. Now we've got everything, the entire knowledge of humanity at our fingertips on a tiny little phone.
John, the generations coming through now see television as a random sort of facility. I don't know what the correct terminology would be, John, but they see television as they're deciding what I'm watching. You know, like the radio does. You don't decide what you're listening to. The DJ will do that for you, and television's much the same. Kids nowadays are like, I don't need anyone to tell me what I want to watch. I'll go and watch what I want to watch, either on YouTube,
TikTok,
Prime, Netflix, TikTok, whatever. It's all at their fingertips now, and it's the same with the movie industry as well, John. There's room for everything. There is room for everything. There always has been. We talked about it. Scorsese was probably at his sort of peak point when Star Wars came out.
Yeah, late 70s, yeah.
You know, and Spielberg started, you know, doing Jaws and Raiders of the Lost Ark, etc.
This is where the whole argument falls apart, Stephen.
Yeah. These films have always existed.
Popcorn
they have
flicks,
in the last 50
blockbuster
years.
films, Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, Star Wars.
There's just
Halloween.
There's a lot more of them now because they can do that. They can churn them out now.
But Stephen, there's a lot more because they work. They're successful. They're making money. It's a business.
Yeah.
Martin should know this.
I think Martin...
It's driven by financial elements, and if your movies aren't making money, the genre isn't making money, the studios aren't going to greenlight it, they're not going to make money off of it. These studios are putting investments of 80 to 150, 200, 250 million dollars into each movie, and they need to make back $750 million just to make a tiny profit.
I still think there's
You're not going to do that with a rom-com.
But I still think there's an audience out there, John, for
there
indie
is.
films, for unique storytelling. There is, and I think
Look
that's
at
where he's
Gianni,
wrong.
Stephen.
Yeah.
The guy compiles a list every year.
Yep.
Very few big blockbuster movies in there. They're all independent, brilliant movies. Nick Cage is doing zany, brilliant independent movies. Guys like Robert Eggers, they're not blockbuster flicks. They're independent style movies. A24 have produced some of the best movies I've seen in my life in the last 10 years.
I think
they're independent movies.
I think his argument does fall flat, as you said, John, but I think Scorsese's looking at it from a selfish point of view, I think, here. He's not got the pull, he's not got the sort of
that's tough
control that he probably once had in terms of when his films can be released, because those windows are getting smaller and smaller with every blockbuster that comes out. I would have to say that, and I think you'll agree, that we get more blockbusters in 1 year now than we did 50 years ago, when you're probably only getting one, maybe two a year.
Yeah.
You're getting maybe about, don't know.
Getting more films now.
Maybe about
period,
7 or
Stephen.
8 per year now. Maybe that's a bit excessive, but you're definitely getting a lot more.
But you know what? I'm going to check something here because I'm intrigued to find something out here. I've keep fucking pressing the wrong thing. Go back to that. I'm going to bring something up here. Box office top, I don't know, top 10 box office movies 2023. I want to see what they are in terms of style of movie, genre. Are they independent? Are they not independent? What kind of films? Barbie #1. You could say that's a blockbuster film. I don't think that is a blockbuster film. That's a Greta Gerwig independent story about something different, something original.
But a well-known...
Yeah, it's a well-known franchise,
brand,
but they're subverting it and telling a really interesting story with this brand. And they've turned it into an absolute huge hit. Nearly 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant independent story. It's not what anybody thought it was going to be when you seen Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie zipping about this promenade at this beach with a luminous clothes on and a fucking roller skates. No one's seen that coming. The Super Mario Bros. Movie, fair enough, that's an animated thing, but that's Super Mario. I mean, Mario speaks for itself. That's an iconic video game character that spanned multiple generations. Oppenheimer, independent film. Christopher Nolan. Guardians, fair enough, but it's a really good fucking film.
Based on a well-known
historical figure.
And I think what Scorsese's talking about is unique storytelling. I think that's where he's basing this argument on.
I mean, you could say that's the but it's still unique.
Yeah.
He's adapting it and he's putting his own flourishes on it. He's telling the story about an interesting guy. He's bringing this guy's story to a new bunch of people who maybe didn't care or maybe didn't have access to what this guy had accomplished in his life. Now they know by watching that film. Nolan is an independent filmmaker. This guy ain't a franchise filmmaker. You could say Batman, fair play. Even then, he was making Batman completely different to what we'd ever seen before.
Oppenheimer's probably not the best example, John, but I think the likes of, as you said, Tenet or Inception, very unique storytelling.
Yeah, of course. And usually he does do very unique stories. I mean, fair play, you get through this list, it is mostly box office.
Yeah,
you've got this. I think.
Flash.
I
Yeah,
don't know what
the
that
Nun
is.
2.
The Nun 2 is
Equalizer,
dreadful.
Evil Dead. I mean, they are all.
Yeah, they
well
are
done.
kind of blockbuster.
I get what you're saying in terms of that, John, but there is some good
one's a wee
films, and I
down
don't
there,
think
incidentally.
2023 is probably the. If you're going maybe a few years back, you will pick out some unique films, unique filmmaking and unique storytelling.
Yeah.
You know?
But look, Stephen, that's the way of every medium. That's the way of every thing that can be consumed by consumers, funnily enough. They evolve and they change over the decades. They go from this sort of analog thing to a digital, and then they become sort of, I don't know, what do you call it? What's the name of it again? Cloud-based.
Cloud-based, yeah.
And we're kind of seeing that. We've seen it with music. It's now cloud-based. Everyone's listening to it on these services. There's no real physical media. It's the sort of hardcore that are keeping the vinyl collections and things like that happening. You see it with film as well to an extent. You've got the hardcore that are keeping Blu-rays, but all the video shops that you could rent and buy films from are all gone. You see it with games now. You're buying consoles. I've not got a fucking CD drive on my PC now. It's all digital.
Yeah.
Film's the next natural thing. It's moved into streaming for better and worse. And now, I mean, we're getting brilliant independent stories get told in these streaming services. It evolves. What the people want changes. It's cyclical. But ultimately, you have to get with it. The guys like Tarantino are still doing the analog thing. They're doing it well. No one's doing it. But the main people have moved over to digital, and they've just went with the industry and what the industry wants. If you want to make cool, introspective sort of human stories, independent stories like, I don't know, Scorsese was doing 40 years ago, there is someone there who will be willing to do it for you. You go to A24, they'll provide you the platform. If it's too fucking dear, like The Irishman, and they can't get $400 million to make a movie, go to Netflix, go to Amazon, the story will be told, people will see it. There is still enough eyeballs out there, enough screenings for these movies to succeed. We're seeing interesting stories performing alongside Marvel movies, beating them a lot of the times. For like Jumanji, you could say it's a franchise blockbuster movie, but it was an interesting take on a classic film from the mid-90s.
Exactly, yeah.
And it beat Star Wars at the box office. Well, momentarily anyway. So it can be done.
Yeah.
I go back to what I said at the start. Make interesting, brilliant movies and they'll succeed. People will want to go and watch them. Look at Triple R.
I don't know why this is resurfaced again, John. I saw it across multiple platforms today. I thought, what's he going on?
He's always fucking whinging, isn't he? Let's be honest.
About it again. And I listen, I like his films. I do like his films a lot, and I will watch it. I will watch anything that this guy brings out. But he's got to know his place. He's got to know his place in today's filmmaking.
He
What
was.
is that Harley
That's
Snowden?
Harley Snowden.
Yeah. Wow.
Stephen, he replaced guys like Hitchcock, and I'm trying to think of other ones off the top of my head. I don't know. Not Kubrick, because Kubrick was floating around until the early 2000s with Eyes Wide Shut, wasn't he?
Yeah, 99, I think.
There was passing of batons happening. It changes. The industry changes. What people want changes.
I don't want
and
him
it's
to be
cyclical.
remembered as a bitter old man, and that's the way he's come across.
Oh, but it's cyclical, Stephen. People are liking superhero, big blockbuster movies, but it will change. The industry is changing right now. They're making flop after flop after flop. That will alter the way that studios do their business.
Yeah.
If they see that people aren't turning up to watch these Marvel movies, they aren't turning up to watch these big, flamboyant, balls to the wall CG fest movies, then they're going to have to change their strategies, what they're spending, and then ultimately they're going to have to look at what people actually want. Do they want movies like Barbie, where it is a little bit smaller in scale and it's interesting stories? I mean, Barbie's basically a remake of fucking Truman Show with a slightly different story. Truman Show came out, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
That's an example of an interesting, independent, unique story being told. I've not seen anything like that before.
25 years ago, yeah.
25 years ago.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Fucking Blumhouse are doing it with horror.
Yeah.
They make a movie for $10 million. It's an interesting, independent movie. It makes $100, $300, $400 million. People will watch the movie if it's good.
Exactly. And word of mouth is always a big thing as well with these films. I think so anyway.
Sadly, Martin is one of the goats. But the current generation have no respect for goats. They're making their own goats.
But John, I think that's got to work both ways. And Spielberg has been very vocal in the streaming services as well. It's been very anti streaming.
Which is weird because he gave him The Irishman.
Yeah, it's strange.
Really obviously Spielberg is as well. He's another example. But Spielberg, to be fair, is making, to this day, really interesting, independent, unique stories.
And he's done stuff for Apple as well.
He has.
So I don't really understand where they're coming from. They've just got to suck it up, I'm afraid, and just get on with it.
I don't believe the industry's over.
No, I don't think so. I think
It's fucking
just,
bullshit.
Yeah, that's just...
Tell that to Paul Greengrass. Tell that to Christopher Nolan. Tell it to Boon Joon-ho. Tell it to Quentin Tarantino. Greta Gerwig. Robert Eggers. Ari Aster. Who created Did Minari? Who was the other one? The Korean American one that came out.
Yeah.
Brilliant
Minari,
Korean American director. It was another one though.
Yeah, can't remember.
Also get it, an A24 movie. Tell it to these directors that the industry's over. That you can't get interesting, unique, non-franchise movies into theatres seen by people and making money. It's fucking nonsense. You can.
And these studios are taking the chance on these projects, John. So, and they're part of the industry. So to say it's over, I think, is a bit...
Taika Waititi.
Yeah. It's
Jojo
a bit
Rabbit.
extreme, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Came out a couple of years ago. Made money. Don't know what they're talking about. Don't know what you're talking about, Martin.
Yeah.
Sorry, I love you, mate. You're one of the greatest.
Yeah.
But you don't have to talk some amount of shit at times.